So, it almost pains for me to say it, but I may have been wrong about Diablo 4. And I wanted to apologize. I know I've been bitching about this game in many of my videos on this channel. And on my other channel, my Diablo 2 channel. Check that out if you haven't yet. And my Meditations by Iceman channel. Check that out, linked in the description below. But I've been complaining a lot. Why is this not like what it used to be? And you know, some of those complaints are legitimate. Like, they really did make a lot of these characters guys, alright? Like, they don't really appear that way, but there's ways that you can find out. Look at the head. You see my head? You can fit 3 of them on my shoulders, okay? And if you're a woman, you can only fit 2. So look at the character models and tell me what you think. Also, the finger digit ratio. You see how my middle finger's longer than this one next to it? Right here? On a woman, this one is actually longer. So if you take a screenshot on Diablo 4 of the rogue, for example, and if you zoom in, yeah, I warn you, you might not be pleased with what you find. Alright? And you can't unsee it. So I nitpick this and that a little bit. And yeah, there's the lunch lady droid. But of course I nitpick the gameplay. The end game. The rune words. These are rune words in name only, okay? These are rhinos that we're dealing with here. These aren't the rune words that we had in Diablo 2 where you would collect 3 or 4 or 5, or in some cases, 6 runes, right? And you'd put them all in an ethereal item or a non-ethereal item just with base sockets in a certain order. And then, of course, it would make a potentially powerful item. And you knew what you were getting. There was a method to the madness. And some of these rune words were game-changing. They made you a godly piece of gear, you know? But of course, they took it all in a different direction now. It's like you use 2 runes or something, cause and effect, and that's it. And they work just like gems or something. It doesn't make you a whole new item. And I mean, socketable items don't even exist that aren't uniques or legendaries that have 1 or 2 sockets or 3 sockets max. You know? Base socket items don't exist. Just those white items or ethereal items. Are ethereal items even a thing? I don't think they are. No ethereal items there. So there's some legitimacy to my complaints is all I'm saying here. Man, I got this crazy comment in my last video. And I fear that perhaps I misjudged. Perhaps I was wrong. This one guy, what's his name? Goat something or another, I think. There's Goat in his name. He said, Iceman, what you want in a game just doesn't exist anymore. He said how people these days have 10-second attention spans, right? Like, you know how we have our phones and it's like scroll, 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 scroll. It's doom scrolling. And it just doesn't end. And then your dopamine, like, it goes up. But then as you go, it just keeps depleting and depleting. And you just keep trying to, you're like, no, 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 don't go away, don't go away, don't go away. You just keep trying to chase it. But it just goes down and down and down. And eventually you got to reset in some way or another. But a lot of our chases are just revolved around that. You remember how it was back in the day when you could... Are there any other boomers like me? Let me know in the comments below, but I had a Nintendo 64. And I remember when, like, Zelda came out. I didn't know what Zelda was, right? The internet wasn't all that prominent in those days. So I kind of found out. It's like, oh, weird. This used to be like some Game Boy game that was like side-scrolling, and then it was like some little game where you have the map and you walk all around on it. That's what Zelda is, you know? And I was like, oh, weird. Now they made like this 3D world Zelda. Okay. I was like, huh. So I played Diablo 1, and that's like my favorite game ever. I just realized, you know, I'm talking back in like 98 or something, or 99. So it's like, okay, so this Link guy, he uses a sword, he uses a shield, and this takes place like back in the day or some shit. So you have like bow and arrow, crossbow, this, that, and the third. You go around, you fight skeletons, you collect items. It was like, okay, sounds like fun. So anyway, I played that, I popped that cartridge in, and what a spiritual journey that game was. And you didn't have like your smartphone, right? Like smartphones weren't even a thing back then. You might have had like some flip phone that you could text on, but that's it. That's probably what I had, like a Razor or something. So you didn't have these distractions all around you. It was just you and like that tube TV or something, most likely, and your N64 hooked up to it. And it's like the world around you was almost quieter. There was room for thought and meditation. You know what I mean? So it's like we weren't just at these constant chasing of these just never-ending peaks, you know what I mean? When we scroll, and then with games, you go from one to another, to the website, to the videos on YouTube. Just all this spam bullshit. So different back then, man. But the thing is, we can capture that now. Let me show you how in just a minute here. But wow, what a thing. Yeah, just remember popping that game in and just how enthralling that experience was. It was like a slow climb. It's like we were ascending. It's like we were approaching euphoria. It was amazing. And it would have those long climbs. And then that finally you get to like the peak, the story moment, Princess Zelda, an interaction with such. Ganondorf. I don't know, maybe he runs off with her. And all of a sudden, like, your endorphins are all over. You're like, oh, here we go again. And then you go down a little bit, and then you start climbing again. You go through Hyrule Field, you know, you're slaying skeletons one by one. You never know what's around the corner. You finally find, like, an upgrade of an item at, like, an hour into the game or something, you know? Oh, wow. How things have changed, huh? If we'd let them. And this guy in the comments, this goat guy, right? I think that was his name, something to do with goat. He said how the attention spans now are 10 seconds. So if you don't make a game where the items are just constantly falling from the sky, like from the beginning, and if you can't just start blasting all over the place right away and just get everything all at once all the time, then the kids are just going to leave and go to the next one where you can. And they're going to play that for 10 minutes, you know? It's just crazy. You can't help but wonder if this is perhaps a potentially inconvenient reality that we're approaching, where we're going to need discernment. We're going to need self-control and discipline in order to navigate this, in order to reach those primal states of the slow climb and the euphoria and the spikes and the lulls, you know what I mean? Because it's just, it's constantly replenishing. We can't get there. You have to just keep fueling yourself, and there's caffeinated drinks and all this other shit. Wow. Just seems like it never ends, man. I just don't know if we're wired for that. No pun intended. No, that was actually intended. You get it, like wired for it? Like this is the age of technology. Of course, this is wireless, but maybe that's why we're not wired for it, because we're actually fucking wired. Any sort of biochemical sense. And this whole wireless bullshit. I don't know, but you see what I'm saying? Yeah, the pun was intended. That's my point. Maybe I've been too hard on him. I mean, maybe if I were to play this game without bitching and just take it slow. Now, it is true that in the video games today, there's constant spam and shit on the game itself even, you know? Where it's almost a bit unsettling. I'm not just talking about the store, where you accidentally hit tab or something and it brings up all this bullshit you can buy. I mean, fortunately, it's just cosmetics. Isn't it? Is that still the case? I don't even know. And yeah, we got catfished a bit, right? Like we see the big Mephisto. Where the hell's Diablo, by the way? You remember back in D2, they would give you patch updates and seasons, just like they do in D4. But in D2, they'd have like big ones. Like they even added Uber Tristram event. Later on, they added Uber Diablo, who could randomly spawn in your world based on the selling of SOJ rings throughout the server. So they added that just with like free patches, you know? And now we spend $40 and they advertise this big ass boss and he's not even in the game, right? I mean, that's what I've heard. So yeah, there's things to nitpick about it. But I am thinking about getting this game, this expansion. I had a good time in season 4, considering. I'm thinking about getting the expansion. I want to know what you guys have to say about that. You know, maybe I've been approaching this in the wrong way, but maybe this is just the way of modern gaming companies where they're just forced to do it. You know, Blizzard maybe was forced to make a game where shit's just constantly raining from the sky all the time. You know what I mean? And there's not like things you can do like hours later that you couldn't do like the first 10 minutes. You know, you can go to Hell Tides, you can level up real quick and do the pits in like an hour's time max, right? And you can do all the content. You can do all the content. It's just the numbers get higher is all. They're like, oh, I don't know. We want the babies who first enter this game, the toddlers that we're catering to apparently, to be able to do all the content. Because we don't want them to see the big boys on YouTube doing the content. And then if they can't do it right away from the start, they're just going to go play Fortnite again or something, you know? Is that what's going on here? I don't know. It's a tough call, but I am curious, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments below. And should I think about getting this game and maybe going into it blind? And yeah, those criticisms are legit. You know, give us some characters that are visually appealing, okay? That's fucking bullshit. But beyond that, I could understand. Okay, yeah, I could understand. You gotta have the items raining for a sty nonstop, you know? You gotta be able to do all the content within the first 10 minutes of the game, you know? You gotta be able to beat the fucking game in 10 minutes, you know? I could almost understand that. But maybe Path of Exile 2 is taking a different approach. Many are saying this is going to be more like Diablo 2. It's more of a slow pace. Even the devs, I saw the thing where the devs are talking about it. They say, oh yeah, it's going to be slow paced. It's going to be different from Path of Exile 1. It's not going to be just blasting all over the place, cleaning the screen from the beginning. Or even Endgame for that matter. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll change up on this like what Blizzard did. Remember when Blizzard said that? Oh yeah, Diablo 4 is not going to have items raining from the sky. Oh yeah, we're not going to have all these crazy difficulties now. They got Torment. What is it? 5 or 6? 4? I don't know. But I'm thinking about playing it. Maybe this is a mistake to judge it so harshly. So I'm sorry. I apologize. And I'm going to go contemplate this a little bit more, all right? So I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace be with you.